You've become very popular in Zimbabwe for playing Sungura. Very rare to see white people play genres like Sungura and Chimurenga and so forth. When was the first time you were introduced to Zimbabwean music?
Typically, we focus all our attention on the band leader or lead vocalist, while ignoring the rest.
Mukundu is hosting a program called Artist to Artist MonoCast, in which he sits down with a band member, session musician, or producer and discusses their lives, triumphs, and challenges.
So, Eric, how do you pronounce your surname?
Erik Valmsnes.
Valmsnes.
Very good. Spot on.
You're from Norway, is it?
Correct. So our language is Norwegian.
Norwegian. Do you have one language the whole country, or you're like us where you have dozens of languages?
We have the indigenous people's language, which is the Sami.
Mean Norway is like Australia, where you have people who are indigenous, and then
you could say that. So we have the Norwegian language. Majority of the population, well, everyone speaks that, and then we have the Sami people that used to live in that area way back.
It's part of the Scandinavian countries. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to music. When was the first time you were introduced to Zimbabwean music?
Unknowingly, I was in a taxi in Namibia, and the taxi driver was playing. At the time, I didn't know it was Sungura, but I was listening to the hi-hat and the guitars, and then only later, when I was lucky to travel to Zimbabwe, I think it was Haifa 2015, I was able to identify, that is the music that I had heard in that taxi. In fact, it was Sungura. So I had been, for many years, I was looking, what is this genre that I was catching? And then finally, when I came to Zim, I was like, aha!
What was the catchy part of the music that really caught your attention?
I often refer to the sweetness of the guitars. There's something, the sound, it's just, to me, the combination of rhythm, lead, bass, and that kick and the hi-hat, it's just so sweet.
I think the genius was in the guitars could be so chaotic because they removed the snare altogether, except on drum rolls. I think it would have been chaos if they had maintained the snare there. So I don't know who came up with that. Possibly Mono, you have more history on Sungura, and it's
as you know, Sungura originally came from Kenya. There was a genre in Kenya which was called benga music. Most popular producer was a man called Fares Kanindo, and he had different record labels, and one of the record labels was called Sungura. So when the freedom fighters came first with the music in Zimbabwe around the 70s, the name of the record label was written on the records. So everybody thought, this music is called Sungura. And by that time, they used to call it Kanindo. Kanindo is the name of the producer. But as Zimbabweans started playing it, we started moving away from the way they were playing it in Kenya, because we added our own rhythms. It became a totally whole new genre, which deserved a new name. So we just took the Sungura.
So Kanindo and Sungura are both, let's call them genres whose names came from record labels.
Yeah, the Kanindo is the name of the producer, Fares Kanindo, and his record label was called Sungura, and they used to play benga music. So benga music is very close to Sungura, very close, because that's where Sungura came from. But we Zimbabweanized it, and we ended up owning it. Because right now, if you put a benga song and you put a Sungura song, it's totally different. Because benga music was, it's difficult to explain, but it had very different rhythms and different structure. And some of it was very fast. And there's so many elements that are different. Because right now, if you listen to Sungura and if you listen to benga music, it's different. But answering your question, the idea of playing the kick and the hides for the main drum came from Benga music.
Okay. And maybe still on that, I'm from Matebeleland, but I also grew up in Mutare.
Yeah.
The Sungura in Matebeleland is very fast. I think.
Have you ever listened to it?
The other day, we were in town and there was a car driving past. I could hear that fast-paced music. They were playing it.
It's 130 and above in terms of, but yeah. But what I wanted to ask is, possibly to you guys who've researched a bit more about it, why is it so fast in Matebeleland? And do you have an idea who did the first Ndebele Sungura? Because I'm thinking maybe people then based on that person, because it's got a lot of, it's very fast in terms of the tempo, and then it's got a lot of, I think you hear a lot of them talking. Now it's just who came up with that template?
Maybe that you've given me some homework, because I love reading. I love researching. So I'm going to embark on a journey to find out. But answering your question as to why the music is very fast, I think it has to do with their dances, because there's a lot of footwork. Of course, even the Shonas do footwork, but I think the Ndebele footwork is faster than the Shona footwork. So my biggest suspicion before I start the research is that the speed or the tempo was influenced by the dances from Blawayo. And then the talking part, if you listen to Zulu music, there's a lot of, I think, is it Zulu or Xhosa? I don't know, from South Africa.
Most of the
Nguni languages, they love that. Their music has got that element.
When you say the talking part, it makes me think about the late, what's his name? He was a comedian. He was the blind. Matawira. Yes, there was a lot of talking.
Yeah.
Anutaura in the middle of the song.
Yeah, and you had a lot of comedy as well. And one time there was a petition for the University of Zimbabwe to give him a doctorate in Shona, because he was very good with Shona, and he was married to a Ndebele wife. Okay. And he also used to sing in Ndebele as well, but he was very good. And talking of Matawire, Eric, have you ever noticed that most of his songs were in 6/8 time? It was in 6/8 time with some of it had the GT tempo, but it was Sungura. So those are some of the elements that we Zimbabweans added into Benga music until it became totally different from Benga, totally different from Kanindo, until we have genres that are totally different. So that 6/8 thing, that Matawire 6/8 thing, that was brilliant.
Yeah, I enjoyed because when I discovered Sungura and eventually I found, YouTube, Spotify, I was able to find all of the artists. Paul Matawire was one of the, I thought he was unique. He was different, and it's from a different time as well. And I enjoyed his grooves.
Also, his ability to add keyboard onto Sungura songs. What do you think about that?
Yeah, many have done that. Chibadura as well.
Yeah,
and
especially with his reggae. Chibadura. Yeah, but Chibadura would mainly put it on reggae. Yeah, but
no, there are some songs on. But on Sungura, usually the keyboards, they don't play chords; they just play melody lines. And it's Richard Matimba who used to play keyboards for John Chibadura.
But he was very good.
He was very creative. Because Richard Matimba started with marimba, so marimbas are very melodic and rhythmic.
The name rings a bell. Who else did he play for?
Oliver Mtukudzi. We were together at Oliver Mtukudzi. But he played for John Chibadura, Thomas Mopfumo, and Oliver Mtukudzi. Okay. But I became friends with him when he was still playing for Thomas Mopfumo. He used to visit me a lot.
Any relation to the Kuda Matimba?
Yeah, it's Kuda is the young brother to Richard. Now, speaking of Sungura, you mentioned how different Matawire's music was. If you notice, during that time, there were a lot of sub-genres or can I say, I cannot say subgenres as such. I can say every artist had his own sound. Because usually what happens is an artist can create his own sound, a unique way that makes him different from other artists. For example, in rock music, there's the Rolling Stones, there's U2, there's Jimi Hendrix. Those three are totally different sounds, but they're all playing rock music. And if you develop the sound further, it can become a subgenre. So I think we had a lot of different sounds. The Penga Udzoke sound, Pomatavere sound. And I think one thing that contributes to an artist having a sound is being able to play an instrument. And if you look at I think the majority of Sungura musicians, they all play instruments, at least one instrument.
Yeah.
You're a point, because Masha Munumunga was a drummer, right?
Pompof was a bass player.
Mkuma Getai, he had his own sound. Did he play anything?
I think he played rhythm, if I'm not mistaken. And then John Chibadura, he played lead guitar. Leonard Dembo lead guitar. Yeah, I think it contributes a lot because the majority of all the Sungura musicians, they at least played one instrument. So it helped them to shape their sound. Have you ever listened to John Chibadura's music?
So John Chibadura's Mr. Chitungwiza, he was my first Sungura. Like when I found the album, I think it's a red cover. I can't remember the name now of the album, but shortly after, for me, discovering Sungura, John Chibadura was the one that I kept playing the most. That song. And
the funny thing about Chibadura is some of his songs were very fast, and some of his songs were very slow.
Yes, exactly. Because sometimes you have yes, and the tempo changes and all that really excited me. So yeah, I could really tell that wow, he has developed his own. There's some signature sound to his.
He had very good signature sound because he was a guitarist and he started off as a sideman first, as a rhythm guitarist with Shepherd Chinyane. Then he moved to Sungura Boys. Then from Sungura Boys, he started his own thing. And one thing about John Chibadura, I think in the history of Zimbabwean music or Sungura music, I think he had the best stage presence.
Also, vocals.
Yeah, vocals.
Yeah, very strong. Very strong.
He had serious vocal range. Like most of his songs would be like up there. And he had also this technique of incurring what I can call slays on his vocal, like
his range.
That type. It was just beautiful. I've modeled some of my vocals not only on Sungura but incorporating it into other genres from that, because he was a very, very serious vocalist, and I've only been able to find, I don't think there's so many live videos of him.
Yeah, there are
very few. But the one or two videos that I saw, his stage presence is, as you're saying.
I used to watch his shows a lot.
Yeah, the cordless.
He's the first person that I saw with the cordless guitar. And what he used to do is he would perform on stage, then you go in the crowd, mingling with everybody. He was a very sociable guy. So people loved him for that. You go in the crowd, and if you are drinking beer, come and drink your beer, and people will be so excited that Chibadura has drunk our beer. And the other time, he had a show in Epworth. So it started raining. So some of the audience went to another shed, which was opposite, and then there was another shed this side, which where the band was playing. So everybody ran away from where the rain was falling. So what he did is he took off his shoes, folded his trousers, and went on the part where it's raining, and he started dancing. That guy was a serious performer. He was a massive performer.
So he was a complete artist, because in terms of dancing and choreography as well, remember his combination with Manyoa.
That combination was massive. And I think after Chibadura, the next person with the best stage presence is Alec Macheso. After Chibadura. Of course, I've got one issue with Macheso, that idea of standing at the extreme left. And I think I used to watch his shows a lot when he was still with Kiama. That's exactly where he used to stand. So I think he just adopted it. But otherwise, I think when we're talking of Sungura music, I think in Zimbabwe, we have never had an influential artist as Alec Macheso. He has contributed a lot, and he has influenced hundreds of bass players, including someone all the way from Norway. Even if you see the number of young artists that are trying to imitate him, because no one imitates Adolfo. If you find a lot of people imitating you, it means you've got something different. I think he has contributed a lot. Now, speaking to stage work, Leonard Dembo was directly the opposite of Macheso and and John Chibadura. I never wanted even to dance. Sometimes people would argue, which one is Dembo? Because he would just stand there with his cape and just play his guitar.
What was up with the cape? Because I've seen a lot of his videos. He's got this flat bass.
That's a good question. Because a lot of Sungura musicians love to wear capes. I don't know why. I don't even know why. A lot of Sungura.
Maybe it was a style of the times.
Maybe.
Except John Chibadura had his famous perm.
Yeah, Pem the Afro. Because remember when we met Shepard Chinyane, we had to ask him to remove the cape as well, because it was covering his face when we wanted to take pictures. The other time I also had an interview with Suloma Kore. He was also wearing his cape, and I had to ask him to adjust it because it was covering his face. So I don't know what it is about.
But you just mentioned something, Mono. I know you're with Shepard Chinyane recently.
Yeah.
You're talking about people who've influenced the Sungura music in Zimbabwe. How do you rate him? You're just talking about Macheso.
Macheso is the most influential in terms of influence. But in terms of impacting knowledge and grooming artists, there's no one who matches Shepard Chinyane. He's on a league of his own. That one is a principality. Shepard Chinyane is a principality. Mondoro, Zenika, that's Shepard Chinyane. Because if you talk of Alec Macheso, came through him, Nicolas Zakaria, R&K, Super Sound, African Sounds, Somanda and Debele. It's a whole list of artists. Even me, I used to practice at this house again in the late 80s.
Did this grooming happen? Was
I also wonder.
Was he, like you say, was it based on lessons, sitting down? Did it take one by one, a lot of players?
He had a lot of ways. Yeah, I'm coming to that. He had a lot of ways. If you go to Jamaica, I was in Jamaica in February this year, 2024. There was a man called Joe Higgs. And he just used to love to teach for free, just for fun. He just wanted to see people grow and people prosper, not for credit or anything. It was just his calling. So the same thing with Shepard Chinyane. So answering your question, some of the musicians, he would teach them one-on-one. Some of them, for example, Ngwenya brothers, they had gone for auditions and they were chased away countless times. And they asked Somanda and Develo, we've been trying to record for a long time and things are not working. What advice can you give us? And they told them, go and see Shepard Chinyane. I think he can help you. So they visited Shepard Chinyane, and then Shepard Chinyane said, you know what? The only way I can help you is I have to listen to what you are playing. And he saw that their vocals were not very clean. Their guitars needed to be polished up. So he started refining their music. Then after refining their music, he went to ZMC and spoke to Timon Mabaleka. He was the chief producer there. Then Timon was saying, you know what, those guys, they sing off key, I'm not going to record them. Then Shepard said, let's just try one song, please. He begged them. He begged him until he said, okay, come with them, let's try. Then they recorded something and it became a massive hit. So that's how he contributed to Ngwenya Brothers. And then with R&K Super Sounds, almost the same thing again. And some of the artists who come to his house with no bands, was that during that time, the analog era, they didn't want you to come with an incomplete band. You had to come with a complete band, well rehearsed, doing one takes only. Yeah, if it was not a one take, you'll be chased away. They had no jokes.
How many times were you chased away? How many times?
I was chased away. With my first band alone, we were chased away more than 10 times until all the guys got discouraged and I was left alone. With my second band, I think it was 2 or 3 times. With my third band, I think it was around 3, 4, 5 times. And then when we first recorded, we went for an audition. And what you would do is you would audition and then you audition like on a Saturday and then you come back on a Monday to get the results. That's what RTP used to do. So I went with my band and we did our audition. And then just as I was leaving, I met Sumanda Ndebele. They said, you know what, my bass player is nervous. I know you can play bass because I was playing lead guitar for my band. And he said, I know you can play bass with Sungura is the lead guitar will start, you just come in, whatever you play. I think it will be better because this guy is scared of the producers. So please help us. And I said, okay, let's get in. Then we got in. And then when the results came on Monday, my band's audition failed. And then they said Sumanda's audition was perfect, but it's the one that we had no results. So my first time to record, 22 February 1992, it was with Sumanda Ndebele, playing bass.
Was it
No, that one is much later. His first album was called Ndingas Vitese. I did a video on it and put it on YouTube. So we went to the studio and then we recorded. We practiced 6 songs only. And when we got to the 6th song, I was playing bass. The producer said, you know what, that sixth song, I don't like it. Remove it, give us another one. And we didn't have a song. So Sumanda knew that I was very quick to create lines on the lead guitar. So he said, exchange places with Walter, who was playing bass. So I went on the lead guitar, Walter came on the bass, and they just played whatever came to my mind, and everybody just got in. Someone just improvised vocals. The producer said, that's the song that I want. So Someone's first recording is with some very interesting trivia.
So did the 6th song turn out to be the best one?
No, the best one was the first one.
But you guys were very, I think it helped you to, like catch on quick when it came to songs. Because there's a song that he did with, I think it was, is it Chikokoko? Rombendian. What amazes me about that song, it seems like the guitar is on loop. But I know during
there was nothing called loops.
It's on like it's straight on tempo. There are no mistakes. How long is that song?
It's about 6 or 7 minutes.
And he plays Mbira guitar like it's
Exactly.
That album, from song number 1 to song number 6, it was 1 takes. From song number 1 to song number 6, because they did not tolerate any mistakes. So as you played, you would think ahead. So right now, as we speak, most of the guitarists that used to play that time, who are still active right now, they still have that discipline of playing 1 take throughout. And even I noticed when I usually record collaborations, every time I had collaborations with Oliver Mtukudzi, it was so simple. The artist would give him his music and he will listen at home. And then when he comes, we just go on the mic. Within 5 minutes, it's done. But if you give these AMA 2000s, these young ones,
AMA 2000s,
you give him the music, you go and listen. I don't think they even listen. They come here, they ask you to play it 15 times, and then they start writing. So
sometimes they may not even be able to write.
Yeah.
They go back home and you wonder why did you come to this?
So I think that discipline, it helped us a lot to the way we play. Even you think ahead. That's why even when I attend shows, people are always asking me to come on stage. And people always say, I think you practice with the band. And I always tell them, no.
it's just happening.
Yeah, it's because of that training. It was a training.
So discipline is the keyword that I'm thinking of.
We'll be right back with you after these short commercials.
Manolio Studios is a recording studio that operates independently and is located in Harare, Zimbabwe. It is owned and run by Clive Mono Mukundu, a music producer, musicologist, session musician and multi-instrumentalist who is better known as a lead guitarist.
The studio is renowned for creating exceptional organic content and is highly regarded for its exemplary professionalism.
The studio became fully operational in January 2007. It is a creative space where several renowned artists began their professional journeys and received guidance. The studio has produced recordings for local, regional, and international artists. Here are a few noteworthy music projects that were recorded at Manolio Studios and produced by Clive Mono Mukundu.
A love song, my lovely country, Zimbabwe. Come on now, come on now. Mono. You are all that I Dangariro imbondi yenguba Paname hapo tutungira samaruba Nakala niko na zinjinza ni zatu May your souls rest in peace Andini ubachura za paunu Haunyari here Ese bata shika ndindi nongo tenga drink Koi wewe Shamari sada Pese bata shika ndindi nongo tenga drink Koi wewe Shamari sada Anenda wendi Mwari wa furaha mama Chiuyari mwari wangu Muvambe neni Niribovu Andione
Manolio Studio, the harmony of quality and professionalism.
Going back to the question you asked me starting this, what caught my attention listening to Sungura? And what you just said about the very long, like, endurance and being able to keep playing those lines for an extended time, that discipline, that is something that I found in Sungura music, was like, wow, I have never heard anyone do this.
A lot of people were bitter or are still bitter about how the producers used to chase people away. But you know what? I'm one person who is very happy and proud that I went through that process. To me, it was not a punishment. I was getting trained. Because right now I see the fruits. Because every time I record, I remember I was recording one group last week. It was a gospel group. And they asked me to play the bass. The bass player couldn't play. They were doing a song and then the bass player couldn't play it. He was struggling. And they just said, can you please play the bass? And I just took the bass and played it straight away. They were wondering, how come you did not rehearse? And how come you just got the notes straight away? And it's all coming from that training.
Do you have any idea, after speaking to Chinyanya, on who trained him?
He gave me the name, but I've forgotten the name. Because he started with homemade tin guitars. Then later on, he met somebody who was playing standard guitars. He's the one who taught him.
Ah.
Yeah.
And that was in the 70s?
Yeah, he said it was 1968.
My mother was not born.
So he's over 50 years of, over 55 years
in the industry.
In the industry. Yeah, that's why he's such a guru.
So you're documenting this in a way.
I love to.
And I have been also, at the same time as I was discovering albums and finding all these classics and listening to the legends, I was also interested in knowing the history. And as you talked about the Benga music, and as the emergence or development of the genre. And then I realized, it was not easy to find information on the internet. So I'm an outsider. I'm sitting in Norway. I can't go to the library of Zimbabwe or find the people who have this knowledge. So I went online. I tried Wikipedia. I tried YouTube. Then I found a couple of academic papers. Some of them are a bit old, but I think also recently there has been made some efforts, including yours, to tell this story, bring the history forward. Everyone is very eager to share the history, but at least as an outsider, it was very difficult to tap into.
That is one thing that inspired me to start documenting, starting with even teaching Zimbabwean guitar styles online. Was the other time I saw somebody who was a foreigner, I don't know where he was from, and he was teaching Zimbabwean guitar absolutely wrongly. That was around 2009. That's when I asked myself, instead of complaining, why am I not doing something about it? So I started posting lessons on how to play Sungura guitar, how to play Mbira guitar. And that's why in 2018, I was invited to the United States to lecture at University of Michigan. It was because of those videos. And at the time, I met some guys from France who were telling me, we know you from YouTube. And I did a masterclass in the US. It was fully pegged like this. And everybody said they saw me on YouTube. But I was wondering, how come I don't have so much views? Because, of course, videos that time was around 10,000, but there are a lot of people like comedians in Zimbabwe. They've got the biggest views. So I was wondering, how are they seeing it when I have such low numbers? Because that time I remember there were some people who were even trying to discourage me, saying, "So this YouTube thing, because you are not getting the numbers." Oh, no. But I said, you know what? Throughout my life, I've always been experiencing discouragements from the time I started the music industry. So I'm not easily moved. I know that results will always come.
But you're talking, maybe to draw you back, Mono and Eric, you're talking of the different sounds, unique sounds attainable by each unique artist in the 80s, 90s. Dereck, their own sound, Mukundu, Four Brothers. Right now, it seems everyone is now sounding like Alec Manchester.
Chessology.
Is that your sentiment as well? And also, how best can we then save the genre from just becoming like the one sound that it is now? Because everyone, if without watching a video, they copy from the way he plays the guitar to the way he sings, even his lisp. He's got a lisp. Even the way he bends his mouth, even his dances. And you see them on stage. Everyone now stands at the end, like Alec Macheso, and they've got a chanter, like Jonas Kasamba. And
even if the chanter is Zimbabwean, he tries to sound like he's from DRC. Because Alec Macheso's chanter is from Congo. So his Shona is not straightforward. And people love it like that.
And they all have a slow-mo, or a Majus dancer,
yes.
And the drummers, they all sound like what's his name?
Obed
Gomba. So I don't know what can be done about it. What do you classify as a main cause, and what can then be done about it? Do we blame the legend, or do we blame the artist?
We cannot blame Macheso, because Macheso is just being himself. And he's also a co-author of that sound. Because when I mentioned it last time, people were saying Alec Macheso is copying Mazibaba. And they said, no, it's not copying Mazibaba. Because they co-created that sound together, Alec Macheso and Mazibaba.
Yeah.
So he's a co-author of that sound. So you cannot say that Macheso is copying Mazibaba. But what happens when you're learning music is there's always a copying stage. Even me, I did it. There's a time that I used to copy the likes of Jonas Tolle, but I never wanted to be Jonas Tolle. I always wanted to be Mono. So I started crafting my sound, my guitar style until I came up with my own style that you can easily identify.
But honestly, I think I'm very optimistic. I actually think there will be a new, not this year, not next year, but things will develop. Just like in South Africa, things until Amapiano was breaking everything. It's the development up until Amapiano. I think things can still happen in Sungura music, whereby, right now there's a lot of cheso copycats. There will be a revival of some of the other branches or subgenres, but I also think soon we will find those AMA 2000 creative kids who will actually fuse and blend or take Sungura in a quite slightly different.
It has always happened. Remember, we said that John Chibadura was also copied, but to a lesser scale. Samuel Chimbeto was also copied, but to a lesser scale. But the thing with Macheso is interesting to watch. He's very charismatic. So
and he can play for 7 hours.
I wouldn't want to join Macheso's band.
Yeah, those guys, they work.
Yeah, but you have Sadza you have a break in the middle.
Yeah, but still, those guys, they work. I got spoiled because I worked in bands from 1988 to 1994, and then I joined church. Now in church, you just play for a few 1-2 hours, then the preacher comes, then you play a few songs during worship, blah, 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 then you are done. Then after the church period, I worked with Oliver Mtukudzi. Now with Oliver Mtukudzi, you just play for, if you're playing around the world, it's just 1 hour, you're done, or 2 hours at most. After Oliver Mtukudzi, Chiwoniso. After Chiwoniso and Oliver Mtukudzi, I started to think, which band can I join now? Going back to those 5 hours, I know what I'm going to lock myself in the studio.
So you're talking about South Africa. Don't you think maybe the thing we could do better in Zimbabwe is to not lose the template of the genre, but make slight improvements on it? Like South Africa, it's been the same kwaito,
Kom,
digong, kom.
Oh yeah.
And then now there's Amapiano.
Yeah.
It's just variations of something that started maybe 30, 40 years ago, right? But what they do is they don't lose a template. They just improve on it. And if it's Amapiano, everyone is doing Amapiano during that time. So Mono usually talks about having a Zimbabwean sound.
That's
endemic and unique to Zimbabwe. But the problem is everyone wants to come in with their sound. There's Zora, there's music, there's chessology, there's...
But when it comes to... Because in Zimbabwe, I think we only have a problem when it comes to naming subgenres. Because there's a genre, then there's a subgenre. So usually when we describe subgenres, we describe it as if it's a genre on its own. For example, Zora is simply a subgenre of Sungura. Dendera is simply a subgenre of Sungura. Chimurenga is a subgenre of Mbira music. Tuku music is a subgenre of Mbira music. But the problem is everybody wants to call their subgenre a genre. Yeah, which is wrong. Because there's nothing wrong with calling your subgenre, with giving a name to a subgenre. Because there's soft rock, there's acid rock, there's punk rock. That's okay. Now, when it comes to the example that you were giving of Amapiano, Digong and everything, you notice that you cannot sit down and say, let's start a music genre right now. Music genres always evolve. They always evolve from something. But if you look at all the countries around the world, I can take example of Jamaica. They started with mento. After mento, it evolved into ska. After ska, it evolved into rocksteady. After rocksteady came roots reggae. Then after roots reggae, the youngsters said we want some digital sound, starting with what they called the slang tang rhythm. And they moved into dancehall with a digital feel. But still, if you look at it, the skeleton is the same. The foundation is the same. It's their own foundation. Now, the problem with us in Zimbabwe is someone will take Amapiano and say, I'm going to create a genre out of it. But the skeleton is not Zimbabwean. The foundation is not Zimbabwean because the foundation will limit you.
Just put it Zimbabwean.
It doesn't work. you don't need Ama Zimbabwe, you need a new sound. So I think coming to what you said, I believe it's true. It's going to evolve into something else. But I just hope they evolve into something Zimbabwean, number one. Number two, I just hope everybody who is trying to run away from being Zimbabwean will learn. Because right now we've had a lot of artists trying to recreate other nations' music, and it has never worked. When you first came to Zimbabwe, and did you visit Macheso at his house or at his show?
I think that first time I was able to go to Haifa, 2015, and I remember seeing performers like Silent Go doing, and he mixes all of these fusion things, jazz, and sometimes he can play a rock solo, and then he starts playing Madzibaba or Cheso stuff, and the crowd was just enjoying it, and I was like blown away. At the same time, I think I saw Tuku perform that time, but I noticed there was no Alec Macheso in CBD. I had to go out. So then it started. I went to Chitungwiza. I got to meet Madzibaba, and I got to see a lot of other local bands perform. And then eventually I finally got to see my first Macheso show. I can't remember the venue, but somewhere in G-Town. And then at Tanza another day, I think. And I have been fortunate to go to Macheso's studio, just like for a rehearsal.
What was the reception like? Wasn't it like this white man has come to colonize us?
But I totally get that, because it has happened too many times. Paul Simon and these things, So I've always tried to come here to Zimbabwe as humbly as I can, and I don't want to extract or to exploit or do anything like that. I simply want to be
they call it culture vulturism.
Exactly.
But my point is, what was the reception? I know that Zimbabweans are very welcoming
very welcoming
because in our culture, even at home like this, if visitors are coming, there's a lot of excitement, and even if children misbehave, they're not beaten up. So kids know that there are visitors coming, so I can misbehave as much as I want. Because in our culture, anybody from outside Zimbabwe, that's one thing different. That's one thing we are different from other countries. I don't know if it's okay to name them, but there are countries where they don't like foreigners. They think you've come to take their jobs, their women, and so forth. But in Zimbabwe, it's totally different. Whether that person is white, whether he's from Zambia, whether he's from DRC, Zimbabweans just love foreigners. So I think you saw it.
I experienced that. The moment Macheso, he invited me onto the stage, I was playing the drums. I think it was Obet Gomba. He saw me in the audience because we had a connection. And then the audience was welcoming me, and Macheso's band was welcoming me. Jonas Kasamba, everyone.
Jonas Kasamba is from DRC. I don't know. Maybe first time thought maybe Zimbabweans would not like the way I speak their Shona, but I don't know if I'm not saying that's what he said, but I'm just thinking, taking his place. But the moment he started speaking his...
I think he's more copied than Macheso.
I think he's second most copied artist right now. Because people just love this accent. Even if you speak with a funny accent, Zimbabweans just love it. So I don't know what it is about our culture. We are so friendly. I don't know if we are too friendly, but Zimbabweans are just nice people. Because I was watching a Don Williams interview when he came to Zimbabwe. He says that of all the countries I've gone around the world, I've never seen people who are as friendly as Zimbabweans. That's what he said, and I really agree with him. Was the other time I was in, was it Sweden? And I met somebody who was saying, in Zimbabwe, I heard that you hate white people. You chop off their heads and you put their heads on a stick and then you go in the streets marching. And I said, which country is that? He said, Zimbabwe. I heard that's what's happening in Zimbabwe. And they said, no, we don't hate white people in Zimbabwe. So I don't know where some of these stories come from.
But also maybe leaving the local circuit. What's the view of Sungura in your home country?
Yeah, so
and how can we improve its prominence?
People don't know that it exists. So I've tried to. At one point, I formed a group in Norway. It was me and 5 guys. I was the band leader. We kind of composed something that sounded similar to Sungura. I was teaching them the parts, and we got a lot of shows, gigs where we performed this music, and people were very interested to know, oh, this sounds different. And we said it's based on, inspired by Zimbabwean music, Sungura. Of course, we can't really claim that we were playing it 100%.
Yeah,
because again, I'm a student of the genre still.
You can be a student and be good at the same time. Because right now you're very good.
But it's my aim to really master, to really be able.
There's what they call the Dunning-Kruger theory. I don't know if you heard it, which says that people who are not good at something, they are very pompous. They think they know everything. And those who are good, they always think, I need to improve some more. Yeah. So I think you have some Dunning-Kruger problem. Because right now you can play already. No, having said that, let's get hold of the guitars.
I hope it's going to pick up.
And try to create something on the spot.
Yeah, on the spot.
On the spot, yeah. And I see that you mastered the thumb technique in Sungura. Can you explain it? I know you are just musician, so you should be able to.
For me, it was actually, I spent some time with Congolese musicians in Europe. There was one guy teaching me how to play.
Did you meet Nguma no Kid?
No. Okay. But the concept of the thumb and in the rumba or the sukus or the seben things, I was taught, I tried to do. For a while, I was playing a lot with Congolese musicians, so that helped me figure out the thumb.
Can you play something in Shua? So. What to call that song?
But it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Whatever.
It reminds me a bit of Somandla.
Yeah, but I think the style that we played right now, I can say it's closer to John Chibadura's sound.
Yeah, that was my inspiration.
It was not that fast-paced Sungura. We used to call it slow beat Sungura.
Slow beats.
Yeah, and then there's this technique, this rumba technique. I don't know how you can explain it yourself. Where the bass, the thumb on your left hand is the one that holds the string number 4. How did they explain it to you, and how can we explain it?
Boom, boom, boom. It's like you mute it.
Also, string number 4 goes with the kick.
Yeah.
So did you learn this from the Congolese? Or?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay.
Yeah, over a couple of years.
So who did you meet first, the Congolese or the Zimbabwean Sungura musicians?
The Congolese. And at the same time, I was starting to listening to Oliver Mutukudze music. Probably some of the records you did.
Played, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I did 4 or 5 albums with him.
So then I gravitated more to Zim after the Congolese influence.
And did you have any chance to watch Oliver Mutukudze in Europe? Because Sungura musicians don't travel a lot to Europe.
I saw Oliver Mutukudze's show in Norway, 2008.
Okay, I was out of the band by then. It was 1 year after I was fired.
Oh, yeah, because I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, I was not there because I was fired 2007, February 2007.
But that was a very big moment for me, because him coming to my neighborhood, performing Tuku music, I think that was also the beginning. It really ignited my interest in Zim music.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah, so I have to give credit to.
Yeah. So we were talking about Poma Tawiri.
Yeah.
He's with some 6/8 Sungura. Have you ever played some 6/8 Sungura? If you've never played, let's try one.
At least you have to explain what you're doing there at the end. Your technique, Mono, that you're using.
Right.
I was playing in the key of G. I come from a Mbira guitar background. That's my strongest point.
Starting point, strong points.
Yeah, Sungura is secondary to me. I started with Mbira guitar. Then later on, when I discovered that Sungura has got a very huge following, I started learning Sungura, I think 1989. So it's coming from Mbira musicians, usually they know their keys who play guitar.
Yes.
Because we are very close to Afro jazz and so forth. So I was in the key of G. So answering your question, that's the first notes I was playing. Then there was this poem. It's very Sungura. So there's this. Yeah. So another element of Sungura is playing open strings.
Yeah.
Like you play it down, then you play it without holding it. So when I play, I usually like to take some elements from Sungura and I play them on Mbira guitar, and some elements from Mbira guitar, I play them on Sungura. For example, this muting technique is very Mbira guitar. when I was doing this, I was now muting it. That's a Mbira technique, but I like to use it on Sungura. And another common one that I do is when I play, then there's an open string. I played this technique on one Suleiman Chimbetu song on the album Gunship, I think. I included that technique as well.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, I've heard this in Dendera, on Dendera albums.
Yeah. I copied it from Soloma Kore, because I was a huge Soloma Kore fan when I started following Sungura in 1989. That time Soloma Kore was huge, because aspiring guitarists would just come to watch Soloma Kore. You just admire him sitting there. So I saw a lot of leaks from him when I started singing, perform live. Yeah. Even that technique of playing open strings, I copied it from Soloma Kore as well. So my style is a concoction of different people. There's Soloma Kore on them. Then there's Jonas Sole and Piquet Chiangwa. Then there's George Baby. Some BB King I also incorporated. So I'll be taking bits from there, then create a monosophic concoction.
Manolio sounds.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think we can speak forever. I think,
of course.
Yeah, we know you have to rush to the airport. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying in tune. This is Eric. I've forgotten your surname. Everybody just calls you Eriki.
Eriki.
It's what? Eric
Vamsnes.
Vamsnes. Guys, this is Eric Vam.
Vam. That's good.
And Dereck Mpofu, and this is God's favorite guitarist, Marana Gironini Heavy. So see you next time.
Tionana.
Yeah, Tionana.